Mr. Speaker, it's been widely reported that Lord Brownlow, who just happens to have been given a peerage by the Conservative Party, was asked to donate £58,000 to help repay for the cost of this refurbishment. Can the Prime Minister, if he's so keen to answer, confirm, did Lord Brownlow make that payment for that purpose?
Let's get some views on this from the political commentator Claire Pearsall. Claire, thanks so much indeed for joining us. Cards on the table, though. You're a Conservative Party supporter. Is this a storm in a teacup or something more serious for the Prime Minister?
I do think this is quite serious. You have the UK's political regulator looking into the Conservative Party, and I think it's important to make the distinction that it is the Conservative Party and not the Prime Minister that are going to be the subject of the investigation. And it centres around whether the loan was made, who made it, whether it was registered correctly. So it is quite important to us in electoral law. The general public are now starting to pick up on this issue. So it may be called a storm in a teacup by some, but on the streets, it's starting to become much more of an issue.
That may be reflected in local elections that are happening next week, but they are just local elections. Could it be more important what the Conservative Party and those MPs in the party think is happening? Because with a majority in the House of Commons, if that changes their view, they may not want Boris Johnson as leader and him making the decisions that they're voting for in Parliament.
That's right. It's not just local elections. What you have to remember also is that elections were postponed from 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic. So you are seeing metro mayors being elected. You have county councils. There are also by-elections in district council and city council seats, as well as a parliamentary seat by-election happening at the moment. So this is actually a big set of elections which will set the agenda ongoing for the next few years. And I think it's important that people will see whatever the Prime Minister is doing, it does get reflected back onto the candidates at a local level. Even though you have no control over that, it is the local candidate that will be tarred with the same brush as the party.
Claire, in the past few days, we've had an allegation that Boris Johnson, when talking with his cabinet or with his inner circle about a possible lockdown late last year, said, let the bodies pile high. There's been an outcry about that because it's highly insensitive language. And some very, very close insiders have said he did actually use that phrase. We've had James Dyson, the billionaire, the man who makes vacuum cleaners and fans, the inventor, texting Boris Johnson personally about the tax situation for his employees who are coming back to work in the UK. People say that that broke the ministerial code because it should have been declared that the Prime Minister was having private text conversations with a member of the public. Are all of these stories just part of who Boris Johnson is, or is there a problem in the Conservative Party?
I think it's a little bit wider than that. Every elected official has to have their conversations minuted. If you're talking with big business, I certainly had to myself at the Home Office. But I think the James Dyson text conversation was during the middle of a pandemic, and I think you can look at the fact he was providing ventilators in a national emergency. So I would put that to one side at the moment. The bodies piled high comment, which has gained a lot of traction over the last 24 hours, needs some real hard evidence to come out. It's all very well for insiders to say that they heard or somebody else heard someone say it. But unless you have that either written down or audio evidence, I'm not sure that we can necessarily believe that has happened.
Claire, thank you so much indeed. Really appreciate it. And no doubt we'll be back with you on Behind the Headlines sometime. Claire Pearsall, political commentator here in the UK.